Now let's talk about Track B, which has the name of the Atlantic Coastal Redevelopment Track. And this track is a little bit more interesting. It's also a little bit more complex, simply because what you have in this scenario is you have a area of low pressure that developed as a wave off of the leeward side of the Rocky Mountains, tracked across the central portions of the United States into the Midwest, and then ended up handing or merging its energy with a developing area of low pressure off of the Carolinas, and the two in a sort of easy to understand fashion merge energy and then create one giant area of low pressure before following the jet stream and just tracking just south of what is called the 40-70 benchmark, meaning to say 40 degrees latitude, 70 degrees west longitude. So basically this track just tracks just along that line and really causes some good impact for southern New England. In the midst of winter, these tracks are notorious for snow. And even in the spring months can really cause some significant wind, especially along the Massachusetts coastline. So when we actually go in and we dive in to look at the pressure patterns, you're going to notice, again, a lot of similarities compared to the Gulf of Mexico track. So here, again, what you have is, what we notice, we have our large area of high pressure centered over the Dakotas and Montana, a 1036 millibar high extending all the way down to Texas. So here is a large area of high pressure. Here's a little surface trough. So that means that here all of our cold air is being pulled down into the center part of the country. Here we have a developing area of low pressure coming out of the Great Lakes. And again, we'll track just south of southern New England. And we notice that in the next 12 hours, what do you have? Well, number one, I want you to notice that here, this is the original low. So this is the original, what I'm going to call the parent low. And what you notice about this parent low is that here, it has or is riding along a weak stationary front that we're going to notice a second area of low pressure developing along this weak frontal boundary. So here, 12 hours later, now we're looking at March 3rd of 1960. So here, this was the March 2nd, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time surface map. So this is the 7 a.m. or 12 Zulu, March 3rd, 1960 surface map. So here what you notice is that, again, this area of high pressure is pretty much stationed out towards western parts of the United States, west central parts of the United States. And here now, look what you have. Here you have an area of low pressure out towards the Ohio River Valley. And then you also have a second area of low pressure that is actually tracking along the East Coast. So that is the main theme when we talk about nor'easters, is that they typically will track along the East Coast for reasons that we'll talk about in another video. But for right now, you see that here is the second area of low pressure. Here is the first area of low pressure. Here we have this little surface trough that's extending into New England. So here we have high pressure back out in through Canada, north of the Great Lakes. It's just not shown on this map, but this allows our cold air to really pool into southern New England. So we know that even though it's March, we know that it's still cold enough for snow. And so watch what happens in the next image. We see that this low went from a 1,000 millibar low to now a 976 millibar low in a matter of just 12 hours. So this is what we call a bomb, or a bomb cyclone, which is what you hear, especially if you watch a lot of ABC News. They love to throw that term around, it seems, in the last year or so. Bomb cyclone. And a bomb cyclone just means it's an area of low pressure that really just intensified drastically. It dropped about 20 millibars over a 24-hour period. So it intensifies rather quickly. And so what you notice here is that here is the first image. So here is the original area of low pressure. The second area of low pressure was really just a little weak wave. Then 12 hours later, that little weak wave turned into an area of low pressure where this parent wave, the original wave, is actually just going to hand off its energy to the new developing wave. And then 12 hours later, that new developing area of low pressure has gathered all the energy from the dying low coming out of the Midwest and really just exploded off the coast of New Jersey, and again just tracks south of that 40-70 benchmark. So this is the track where this is all cold air. The precipitation is reached further into southern New England. Northern New England's not really getting anything, but it's really just a southern New England kind of situation. But you also have intense snow all the way back through New York State, Pennsylvania, even into the Virginia area, and down in through New Jersey and also Maryland. So this is quite a strong nor'easter that impacts many areas, not just New England entirety. So now here's another system. This is February 3rd of 1961. Here's the 12Z surface map. Again, now what you notice, you have a large area of high pressure system just sitting north of New England in southern Canada. 1044 millibar high, quite a large area of high pressure. And so here, this is a little bit easier to see. Here's the parent low out in the Midwest. Here is the new developing low. Again, just a weak wave. It's not even a closed circulation yet. Still has a low or a central pressure of 1020 millibars. The original low is a well-defined low, but as you can see, this low is going to die and transfer its energy to the new developing low. And so here what you notice is now you see that this low went from a 1016 millibar low and is now developed into a 1020 millibar low. So you see that pressure is increasing for this little weak area of low pressure. It was originally had a well-defined circulation, and now it doesn't, but the new area of low pressure does. And so here you notice that it went from a 1020 millibar low to a 1012 millibar low. So this really intensified in a 12-hour period. You also have an area of high pressure that is still north of New England, again rotating clockwise, bring all of its cool air or cold air, because this is February, cold air all the way down into New England. So again, when we look at 12 hours later, what do we notice? That this high is actually retreated a little bit and almost split into two. And so here we have a single cell of high pressure just north of New England, and then we're going to watch a second cell of high pressure developing out west of the Great Lakes. And what that does is that, again, allows a gear to form where the high pressure system dictates to the low pressure system, where are you going to go? And so here, now we have a 996 millibar low, so we have a quite strong area of low pressure. We have plenty of cold air in New England, thanks to this high pressure system centered over northern New England. So we had plenty of cold air in place, and so now we have a very intense snowstorm. So it's really the Atlantic Coastal Redevelopment Tract that's really the key signature, almost legendary track for New England when we talk about really intense blizzards and nor'easters. And so if you want a good classic school gets shut down for a week, businesses close early kind of situation, these are the nor'easters that do it. And these are the type of tracks and the type of pressure patterns that we look for when we analyze or when we forecast these nor'easters. And so remember, if it's the winter months and we're looking for snow, key signature feature would really be the high pressure system overhead, because that allows that clockwise circulation and that cold air to really pool into southern New England, and all that cold air is held because it's nice and cold and dense. It is held into that region by the Appalachian Mountains. So that's the pressure pattern, or what the pressure patterns look like for the Atlantic Coastal Redevelopment Tract.